hard to believe that it's been nearly 2 months since Gardener's World visited me here at the Allotment Garden. And that was for a segment that aired just last week. And I'll be honest, I was really stressed out because it was so early on in the season that none of this calendula was actually blooming. But that's the beauty of growing calendula in a mild climate like this. A few of the plants will overwinter, and I relied on those to give that pop of color, that orange splash of skincare herb goodness to that feature. The chamomile as well. They ordinarily wouldn't have been blooming that early on in my garden, but I had them covered in a fleece and I was really babying them just so that they could make that cameo appearance. In this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my experience with filming with Gardener's World, and I'm also going to introduce you to some of the products that you can make with calendula flowers. Well, I think that I have nearly every single blooming calendula flower from my allotment in this basket now. And I grow quite a few different varieties. I grow Indian Prince, which is this one here. I grow various other ones. I also grow ornamental varieties such as Pink Surprise, but I don't tend to pick those for skincare. The most important cultivar that I do have growing is this one, and it is a variety called Ehrfurter Orangefarbige. And as you can guess, it is a German cultivar. And this is one that is really high in resins and those natural components that make it so important for skincare. And once I have these picked, I'll take them home and dry them. I have a video showing how I do that. I tend to pick the petals off because I use a lot of these in handmade soap, but you can also dry the entire flower head, and that's a lot more common. And then once that's done, I infuse the flower petals and the flower heads into oil to make this really golden, healing calendula oil, which I use in making salves and various other products. And in fact, I created a guide recently, so it's a 49-page ebook on how to grow calendula, the cultivars to look out for, because there's another one in the USA that you'll want to pick up as well, and how to infuse it into oil, detailed directions, and quite a few skincare recipes. And I have that available on my website, so if you'd like to pick that up, I'll pop a link up on the screen and also down in the video description. So definitely check that out if you're interested in growing and making your own skincare. Now, back to Gardener's World. You might be wondering, how did Gardener's World end up here on my allotment? And what's happening is that Frances Tophill, one of their presenters, has got her very first allotment this year. And if you're watching from the USA and you don't really know what an allotment is, it is a plot of land within a community garden that you can grow your own garden. And they're a very British institution, and it's great for people who don't have space at home to garden or would like to garden alongside other people. There's really good community spirit in most of them. You can share knowledge, share harvests. And so Frances has started up her very first one. She's interested in growing plants that can dye fabric. She's interested in plants that are medicinal, so that she can use for herbal medicine. She's interested in growing things for wildlife. And she's also interested in growing plants for skincare. And that is how the research team found me. I started off my business by growing skincare plants here on the allotments. And to this day, I use a lot of those flowers and herbs to make products for recipes that I share on my website. And I love making and sharing this idea because I really believe that there is this kind of curtain drawn between us and the beauty industry, and there's this mystique of us and them. So they make products, we consume them, but we can actually make a lot of it ourselves. And that is the message that I wanted to convey when Gardener's World got in touch with me. So they flew over here, Frances and their team, And we spent an entire day here at the allotment. There's so much footage that didn't actually make it into the final cut. It was something like 9 or 10 hours of filming, and the final segment was something like 8 minutes. So you can imagine that there's a lot in there. And it was an incredible experience. I got to chat with the camera guy and the audio guy, and they had a researcher there and also the producer. And it was fabulous seeing how they put it all together and their little insider information as to how the show works and some stuff about how Monty Don actually sees the clips beforehand. It was phenomenal. Frances was absolutely lovely, and we got on really well. Had chats throughout the day. There were lots of bees buzzing around at times because I had products with honey, the honey face mask, for example, other bits and bobs. And it was quite the experience, and I'm very grateful to have been featured on my favorite TV program. Now, the episode of Gardener's World that I feature in is episode 19 of this season. And if you didn't catch it last Wednesday, it's still available for replay on the BBC iPlayer if you are in the UK. If you're not, say if you're in the US, you can watch it on BritBox, which is a streaming service. And I've also found out that there's a sneaky copy up on YouTube as well. So if you're having any issues and finding it and watching it, you can do it at least right now. You can see the episode. Now, I really would like to encourage you to look into growing calendula. It's a companion plant. It has so many different uses. And then obviously for skincare, if you're interested in growing and making your own skincare, check out my ebook. I'll put a link down in the video description. You can pick that up. It's an instant download kind of a thing. And that will get you on your way to growing and making your own healing skincare. Isn't that color gorgeous? Now, I'm going to finish up this segment with a special interview that I did with Frances Tophill. It's an audio interview, and I'll overlay it with some pretty images of the allotment. But I asked her a few questions as to how she got to the allotment and more of what she's doing in her own. And also she gives some tips for beginner gardeners. So have a listen of that. And I think that's about 6-7 minutes long. And then next time, we're going to be back here on the Lovely Greens YouTube channel looking at another skincare plant because lavender is ready to be harvested. So we're going to harvest that, and we're going to talk about some of the things that you can make with your own lavender buds. So I'll catch you next time. Have a listen to the interview, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been an amazing day here at the allotment. Frances, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Of course. Well, I'm a gardener. Who has found myself becoming a bit of a TV gardener, weirdly, but I'm kind of a gardener who's never really had my own garden. So I've had one that was right by the sea and the waves would land in it. That's the nearest I've had to actually being sufficient as a gardener. So I've been waiting a long time to get an allotment, and I finally have one. And then Gardeners World have jumped on the bandwagon and started filming it with me, which is kind of pressure, but it also means I get to go all over the country and meet lots of lovely people like yourself who are doing amazing, inspiring things with their allotments.
How did Gardener's World find me and the Isle of Man? How did you end up here?
Well, it's a big team effort. So at the beginning of the year, there's a director and a researcher, and we speak a lot about what I'm planning on the allotment, and that gives them ideas. And then Susie will go and she'll find all these different people, amazing people around the country who are doing different things, and that will then feed into the story, and I find myself in all these incredible places.
Yeah, so today we've been making some beauty products with things that we've grown from the garden. What other allotments have you been visiting? What things are you interested in putting into your allotment?
Well, I am a realist. So although I love the thought of being totally self-sufficient in veg, I know that I don't have the time to do it. So I've been kind of growing lots of different things, cut flowers, perennials. I'm very into anything useful, as we were chatting about earlier on. You know, if you can eat it, great. If you can dye with it, if you can make cosmetics with it, as we've been doing today, that's amazing. We've been seeing an incredible wildlife allotment as well, where it's just all about pollinators. So it's just a bit of everything, creating a better planet really, and also a better kind of life experience for yourself, rather than just slavishly growing vegetables and toiling over it and watering every day. You know, just actually making it work for me in a way that I can sustain.
So this is your first year having an allotment. What is your advice for other people just taking on their first plot?
Pick the site carefully. I had a choice of 2, which was really good. And I picked the one that had a shed with tools because I thought it was quite a practical concern. But also just don't feel overwhelmed. I think the fact that mine is being filmed has put the pressure on a lot. So my family have been amazing in stepping in and watering and weeding when I'm not there because my work takes me all over the place. But I think it's to take it step by step, not feel overwhelmed, do some clearance, maybe cover areas with a membrane or something to keep the weeds down if you have lots of weeds like I have. I've learned that lesson the hard way where I've dug it all up and then it's all growing straight back again. So just sort of take it step by step and approach it in a way that you're able to continue that momentum. I think it's very easy to just get started and then lose the momentum quite quickly and lose heart, because when things start to fail, it can you take it really personally. I've had moments when I've arrived and thrown things on the floor and cried because something that I've planted has been eaten by rabbits or it's just died in the drought because I forgot to go down and water it. Not to beat yourself up too much because it takes years to get them looking really good.
And I hear that you have quite a tough weed on your allotment as well. What is it and what are you doing about it?
I had a lot of couch grass, but the one that's really got me is the mare's tail. The couch grass was fairly easy to get rid of, and actually I found that where I've missed it, I can dig it up quickly now and it's easy. The mare's tail has been absolutely, I knew when I got the plot that it had some, but as I've dug it by hand, I found roots all through. I was digging literally for months. I got the plot in January and I was digging until April by hand as much as I could with the help of family and friends, and I didn't even get a third of it dug. So I just got a rotavator, hired it in, rotavated it, and there's not much difference where I spent hours arduously getting all the roots out. It's grown back just as thickly as where I rotavated. So that is something I am struggling with.
Yeah, well, they did actually survive the meteor that killed the dinosaurs. So, yeah, it will take some digging and time, doesn't it? Yeah. But you found out today that you can actually use mare's tail for skincare as well, and hair care in particular.
Yeah.
So that's an idea.
Yeah, that was actually amazing because people say to me, "Oh, no, you can use it as a scourer for pounds." It's like, yeah, but I don't. I've got a sponge. But now you've told me that I can actually use it in a cosmetic product, and it can be a useful thing to have. Suddenly, I never really minded it because as a kind of botanist, I really appreciate it as a species. It's a fern. It's a true fern. They used to think it was just a fern ally, and seeing the kind of the physiology of this plant, it throws up its female sporing bodies with kind of spores that flick off as you hit them, and then it's the male parts which will have that kind of brush-like appearance. I respect it hugely as a species. I just wish it would respect my space a little more and keep off my allotment.
Last question. Do you think that people are natural green thumbs or brown thumbs, and what can we do about either?
No is the answer. I think everybody has the ability to grow things. I would say, actually, I'm not naturally green-fingered, as I would say. I never thought I was anyway. I used to have house plants and just managed to kill them. Bonsai, I was given a bonsai. My dad is a bonsai enthusiast and he gave me one and it died really quickly.
Oh, no.
At a young age. And I think those early experiences can make you feel that you're just not any good. And we see our grandparents really with the amazing plots. But you forget that that's taken a lifetime for people to learn. And that's the thing, is actually growing things that are easy to start with, growing things you can manage, because if you grow something that's challenging and you're not actually able to keep it looking good, it can really put you off. So it's just taking off things that you can actually manage, but then also just letting nature be a little bit. Actually, that's what a lot of gardening has become more about. A lot of wildflowers growing. Even here, I can see in the hedgerows around the allotments, there's so many wildflowers. That's nature doing it. You could just say, that's my garden. And people would think that you've done that and that's your skill that's done that. It's not. It's an instinct in everybody. It's just nurturing it and not being downcast or put off if things go wrong, because they go wrong for everybody. Even the most skillful gardeners will have things they just struggle to grow. So yeah, no such thing. Just give it a go.
I like that you're so realistic about it. Gardening programs, they often show a side to gardening that is a little bit more idealistic. So keeping it real, giving enthusiasm where it's due, and keeping it up when it comes to gardening is great. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming to the Isle of Man and doing this piece. And we look forward to seeing it on television sometime soon.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. It's been really amazing. Inspiring, I would say. Yeah. Going home with lots of ideas.